Welcome to another session of Called to Be Men, Proverbs 31 Women. You know, we have a serious problem in our nation today, and that is fatherlessness. We're going to give you some concepts today to not only help you become a better father, and for the women to become a better mother. What we're looking for is to be able to give you some principles to impact you, to empower you, to be able to live the life that you desire, to be able to become the husband that your wife needs, to become the wife that your husband has been looking for. So as we step into this session today, I believe that your children are going to become the benefactors of learning these principles and concepts. So before we start, let's pray. Father, today, as we step into this concepts today of becoming a better father, becoming a better mother, I'm asking that by your Spirit that you would empower us, that you would open our eyes, open our ears, that you would open up our hearts to be able to hear what you're saying today. We ask because of the enormity of this message, that you would awaken us to be able to see how we can transform, that we can be molded into being a great disciple for you. And so we give you praise in advance. Amen and amen. So with that, let's jump into this teaching. You know, there's a group called the Barna Group. It's the largest Christian polling organization showing trends and beliefs in Christianity. And their recent year-end review said this: the problem facing Christian church is not that people lack a complete set of beliefs. The problem is they have a full slate of beliefs in mind, which they think are consistent with biblical teachings, and that they are neither open to being proven wrong nor to learning new insights. It may be that spiritual evaluation is so uncommon because people fear the results might suggest the need for different growth strategies or for more aggressive engagement in the growth process. No matter what the underlying reason is, the bottom line, both among clergy and laity, was indifference towards their acknowledged lack of evaluation. What an amazing concept. Here it is, a group that is kind of outside of both sides of Christianity, of outside of our nation, and they see we have a problem. According to a new study about generational beliefs, America is at war with itself. That's how study author George Barna sums up what he called deeply troubling results of the American worldview inventory. The biggest takeaway from these results: millennials and their predecessors differ more now than they have during the past 7 decades. Based on this new research, young adults have radically different beliefs and values than their parents and grandparents in 3 categories. 1 is respect for others. 2, interest in faith. And 3, enthusiasm for America. Imagine these 3 things that are way down in value in our young people. We have a lot of work to do. Although 61% of millennials identify themselves as Christians, the other responses don't mesh with that label. Compared to boomers, millennials are 28 percentage points less likely to say they follow the golden rule. Twice as likely to say they respect only people who hold similar beliefs as them. Less than half as likely to say life is sacred. And 28 percentage points more likely to cling to revenge. Wow, startling statistics to say the least. In what Barna calls a robust rejection of Christian faith, research shows that millennials are disengaging from the traditional Christianity. They're less likely to believe in absolute moral truth, view the Bible as a reliable moral guide, be committed to practicing their faith, pray and worship during a typical week, confess their sins, believe that God created humans in His image, and believe that God loves them unconditionally. We need to help this next generation awaken. But as the scriptures remind us, a nation at war with itself cannot persist. This research underscores that America is losing its spiritual unity at a rapid pace, says Barna. Even a rudimentary understanding of the foundations of the American Republic reminds us that unless the United States maintains spiritual unity under the hand of God, we will not be able to sustain the freedoms that have made this nation unique and desirable. The heart and soul of the nation will pursue other gods and beliefs to our demise as a nation. Folks, this is why we are so adamant that we are presenting this course to you, because we need this course to be able to help reform and reposition our nation, to reposition our young people. At Everyman Ministries, we know that when a child comes to Christ, 3% of the family will follow, says Luck. When a mom comes to Christ, 17% of the family will follow. But when a dad or father comes to Christ, 93% of the family will follow. Look at the amazing difference of a father leadership. Our nation is looking for solutions for the chaos, dysfunctionalism, and unrest that is pillaging the family today. The answer is not in our economy or our politics. We have a nation that is void of fathers who know how to be biblical fathers. Because we have ignored God's ways, the family is being torn apart by ignorance and misunderstanding. We need men who are ready to confront those issues head on and bring families back to a healthy lifestyle in the Messiah Yeshua. Becoming a better father. Children are a blessing. Proverbs 22 verse 6 says, "Train up a child in the way that he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it." Notice the first 4 words. Train up a child. You know, training a child takes work. It takes diligence. It takes planning. And this is what God has given us, is principles to be able to train that child. Let's look at Genesis 18, 18, and 19, the directions that God gave Abraham. "Since Abraham shall surely become a great and mighty nation, and all the nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. For I have known him, in order that he may direct his children and his household after him, that they may keep," or the word shamar, which means to protect, with a thorny hedge of protection, "the way of Yahweh, to do righteousness and justice, that Yahweh may bring to Abraham what he has spoken to him." Look at this directions. That he may direct his children and his household after him. That's us, people. This is our direction to train our children. How does Yahweh bring to us the promises like he did Abraham? Well, it starts with the celebration of the seventh-day Sabbath. The honoring of the Sabbath is not a legalistic thing. It's an instruction in the Torah given by Yahweh on how to order our upcoming week. The Sabbath is the center of the 10 Commandments. The Sabbath is the focus of our Bible. The Sabbath is called the wedding ring, the 4th commandment. Our covenant with Yahweh Yeshua. If we don't teach our children the value of Friday night sundown to Saturday night sundown, they will never understand why Yeshua came to earth. The story of creation in the book of Genesis is about 34 verses long. The story of the tabernacle is 176 verses long. Which is more important to our Creator? Creation or the place of relationship with man? The book of Exodus has many events of Israel whining and complaining. And the more he gave, the more they whined. That's kind of like parenting guidelines. We need to watch that. But when did complaining stop? When he stopped giving and required them to start giving. When we were focused on the construction of the temple, their unified effort to listen to his instructions and the whining stopped, teaching them the importance of giving of their lives and heart to something bigger than themselves. The same lesson applies to us today. The more we're given, the more dissatisfied we are and the more we grumble. Once we're led to become givers and not only takers, we become better people. When our focus is on Yahweh and the betterment of others, we then walk in increase. We are more aware of what we do for our Father in heaven and thankful for Him than what He does for us. The same for families. We are more thankful for them and what we can do for them than what they can do for us. And so we're thankful, just thankful for the opportunity to be able to serve. The Torah teaches us the difference between right and wrong so we can teach our children the difference between right and wrong. And remember, it's not so much the right and wrong, it's the major thing between right and almost right. It's the almost right that gets people in trouble. Wisdom will never bring prosperity in their life. Only knowing honor will bring prosperity. Every sin is a sin of dishonor. And when one dishonors, they disqualify themselves from receiving blessings from financial, physical, emotional, and spiritual needs. But when we honor His commandments, we will always succeed. We need to be aware that when we dishonor, we close our eyes and we close our ears to seeing Him and hearing His voice. And when we can't see or hear, the enemy has clean right to be able to come in and take advantage. The Jewish people have learned that in the Torah there are certain times to do certain things. The successful Jewish man that knows to raise a family that has shalom in the home will need Yahweh's instructions that are found in the principles. You know what? Every home, every father, every mother wants God's blessings on the home. Everyone does. The problem is they don't know how to get it there. The problem is they don't know how to maintain those principles. But these are principles that are based in God's Word. I learned that whatever principle or righteous act I do now goes to my children to the 1000th generation. So I'm very careful what actions I do or what actions I don't do. I'm very careful as to what thoughts I think, what words I say, what word seeds I plant. This understanding will cause me to change my bloodline to being righteous and changing with the law of progressive revelation. We need to teach this next generation about the blessings of honor and the curses of dishonor. When our children honor us, things go well with them. Remember, the 5th commandment comes with the promise that long life will come to us if we choose to honor our parents. Honor. Hebrew thought is to magnify the difference in a child. Many times we want our children to fit in. Remember, similarity brings comfort, but difference brings prosperity. Every Friday at Erev Shabbat, we celebrate the difference by blessing the children. We celebrate them and speak a blessing over them that they will be like Ruth and Ephraim. Remember, on Friday night, we pray blessings over our children. We speak prophetically over them, that they will be very successful in their growing up, that they will be business owners and not employees, that they will have ideas and be creative all the time of their growing up to be a very successful adult and a very great blessing to the community. We must choose to teach our children. What you refuse to learn from people, you will learn through pain. What they refuse to learn from their parents, they will learn through pain on their own. Teach your children to have a mentor. Honor. We must be careful of how much information in the family our children get, how much they get to know. It's dangerous for a child to be in on many of the conversations between a husband and a wife. Separate the conversations between children and adults, as they don't have the mental reasoning to process what's happening. When there's a conflict between dad and mom, the child automatically believes it's their fault somehow. When there's a divorce, the child automatically believes it's their fault. Even though it's not, it's just the way that children perceive when dad and mom don't get along. If a son sees a father committing transgression, he's not allowed to criticize, but only hint in a roundabout manner. The hint is not the son's responsibility, as he is not to uncover his father's nakedness. He's not to expose the shortcomings of his father. Be aware that you do not give the reward to the child for something too early in advance, just because all the other children have it. When we buy them everything without them feeling like they've earned it, they do not learn to be diligent. They have to feel like they have accomplished something for the value of the reward to learn diligence. These are some great principles. 1, only the diligent know the wise, and only the wise know the diligent. Proverbs 10:4. He who has a slack hand or dishonors becomes poor, but the hand of the diligent, one who honors, makes rich. Proverbs 12:24. The hand of the diligent or an honor will rule, but the lazy who dishonors will be put to forced labor. Promotion comes in life because of diligence, not handouts. Giving someone something without earning it will promote I deserve it attitude, that they are somehow entitled to receive the benefits because of social status. Children will be promoted and are successful in life because they've learned to become diligent, honorable. This is one of the greatest principles a parent can teach their child, is how to become diligent, how to become honorable. That means not getting everything they want just because they want it. If a child has grown up in lack, it can be one of the best lessons in life. Most millionaires today grew up in poverty. They learned diligence at an early age and then applied it. I can remember when my son was in the 4th or 5th grade that every person in his class had a cell phone. And he would come and tell me, Dad, I need a cell phone. Well, why do you need a cell phone, son? And he'd tell me some reasons. And then I'd say, but if you really need one, borrow one from one of your buddies. But I said, you haven't earned the right to be able to have a cell phone just because everybody else has. Matthew learned later on to earn the money to buy his own cell phone. And today he's been very diligent because of that lesson that he learned. There are 2 laws. There's always a descent before there's an ascent. 2 is there's always a test before a promotion. The only way to recognize increase if there's a decrease. You know what? There's prosperity in your children. Their potential is waiting to come out. And this is what your job as a parent is, to find out what that potential is and find ways to pull that potential out that God put in them. It's like a seed, like an apple seed or tomato seed, an avocado seed, any kind of a seed. When you plant it, you can't add anything to that seed. Why? Because everything is in the seed. That's what's in your children. Everything is in your children. But they're not going to find it in hours of playing video games. You know what? We can send our children to college, even Bible college. But if all they gain is academia, they will never prosper. Why? Because honor is the key to prosperity. Honor can be taught. Honor is witnessed in our actions by consciously being aware that we are teaching them and we don't think that they're even looking. That's why on Friday night we get to celebrate the Sabbath, and the children get to witness dad praying for mom, mom praying for dad, other people praying for their children. And they get to formulate and have that core value, knowing that this is what I want when I become an adult. And so honor is well taught on the Sabbath. Fathers, How you treat your wife is exactly how your son will treat his wife. Jewish men have learned that when you honor your wife, things go well with you. It's important that your children see honor going on. When is the best time? Friday night on Erev Shabbat. As the child can tell when all is okay with mom and dad. When a husband prays Proverbs 31 over his wife, it's said that from the heart and not just words, she'll know it. Learn to prophesy over your wife. Wife, pray prophetically over your husband. Tell him he's a great man. Tell her she's a great woman. And the guidelines that are inside of her need to be pulled out. What a loving and admirable person she is. You can give without loving, but you can never love without giving. What a powerful statement. That'd be a great bumper sticker. The first date your son or daughter should have is with their parents. I learned to respect my mother as she carried a lot of power. I wished I could have learned that what I know now about honoring parents. I was fortunate to have a father who could teach me about the importance of respecting my mom. My mom carried a lot of power in that all she had to say was, I'm telling your dad when he gets home. I knew that I better make sure and toe the line during the time before my dad got home. Fathers, mothers, the only way you do not know the role of the parent is because you have no instruction. We have the 613 commands, the principles, which teach us instruction and direction. It does not matter if you're Jew or Christian. These are biblical principles that came from Yahweh Yeshua. See, this is the problem we're having in our culture today, is lack of education, lack of instruction. That's why the Torah is called God's teaching and instruction, so that we don't have the excuse of not knowing how to raise our children, how to be the best father, how to be the best mother, how to be the best husband, and how to be the best wife. All of the instructions are in His Word. When we look at mother and fathers, they're different. One who loves till you close your eyes is a mother. One who loves without an expression in the eyes is a father. Mothers introduce you into the world. Father introduces the world to you. Mother gives you life. Father gives you living. Mother makes sure you are not starving. Father makes sure you know the value of starving. Mother personifies care. Father personifies responsibility. Mother protects you from a fall. Father teaches you to get up from a fall. Mother teaches you walking. Father teaches you walk of life. Mother teaches from her own experiences. Father teaches you to learn from your own experiences. Mother reflects ideology. Father reflects reality. A mother's love is known to you since birth. A father's love is known when you become a father. Wow. Enjoy what your father says and keep loving your mother. Great set of values. 30 powerful child affirmations. These are all clues and helpful hints that you can say to your children. Learn them and learn them well. 1, you're worthy of all good things in life. 2, you're a good listener. 3, you have kindness in your heart. 4, you are the light of my life. 5, you encourage me to keep learning new things along with you. 6, you have no limits on what you can accomplish. 7, you are truly amazing. 8, you have a unique imagination that allows you to see things others cannot. 9, you care for others deeply. 10, you make my heart so happy when you fulfill the obligations that I've asked you to do. Number 11, You handled that situation bravely. Number 12, you solve problems creatively. Number 13, you are and always will be beautiful or handsome. 14, you're a fast learner at the concepts that I give you to do. 15, I love how generous you are to others, even when it's difficult. 16, I love hearing your voice. 17, I will always believe in you. 18, I can't imagine my life without you. 19, I enjoy hearing your thoughts. And 20, you make others smile. 21, you are a wonderful listener. 22, I will always be there for you. 23, you are born to do great things. 24, no one controls who you are but you. 25, always do what is right, no matter the consequences. 26, your hugs make my heart happy. Number 27, I love you to the moon and back. 28, we are thankful God gave us you. Happiness is a choice, and you choose it every day. I am proud of who you are, and I am proud to call you my child. Instructions on how to raise sons. Almost 20 years ago, the father woke me up very early one morning when my son was about 4 years old, and he said, I want you to teach him to be a man. When he said that, my first thought back to him was, that's easy for you to say, because I did not know how to make Matthew a man. I grew up on a farm. I learned how to work hard, but I had no clue on how to raise a son to be a man. He then began to open his word to me and show me the principles and concepts that are in his word on how I needed to raise my son to be a man. In 1 Kings 2, 1 through 3, it says, now the days of David drew near that he should die. And he charged Solomon, his son, saying, I go all the way of all the earth. Be strong, therefore, and prove yourself a man. And keep the charge of Yahweh your Elohim, to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes, his commandments, and his judgments, and his testimonies, as written in the law of Moses, that you may prosper in all that you do and wherever you turn. Jeremiah 6:16 says, stand in the ways and see, and ask for the ancient paths, the Torah, or the good way, the Torah, and walk in it. Then you will find rest or Shabbat for your souls. Remember, the word rest there is an interesting word. In our English culture, we see the word rest very much as like where we take a nap or sleep or rest our body. But the word rest is way different than that in Hebrew culture. The word rest here means to be confident in what you're doing. For example, I am never concerned about my wife's being faithful to me. I rest in that fact that she is faithful. She rests in the fact that I'm faithful. And so this is what Yahweh is asking us to do on the Sabbath, is to come into that rest that we know that he's going to take care of us. Again, the Erev Shabbat service is so powerful as parents get to experience the spirit of honor. Parents who teach children to honor will be blessed, and the best place to teach honor is the Sabbath. One of the things that we have seen in over 20 years experience is that children that are raised in the Sabbath grow up with such a core value of power and anointing and being able to be a citizen that has a happy marriage and then have happy children. Deuteronomy 6, 5 through 9 says, you shall love Yahweh your Elohim with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your strength. And these words, called the Devar Elohim, which were spoken out of God's mouth, which I command you today, shall be in your heart. You shall teach them diligently to your children. You shall talk of them when you sit in the home, when you walk by the way, when you lie down, and when you rise up. And you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and when they shall be a frontlets between your eyes. And you shall write them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates. A biblical law. When we teach honor to our children, we raise up their whole universe. So when they honor, they raise up every aspect of their lives, financially, spiritually, emotionally, and physical. Get sons a toolbox for their own tools. When changing oil on a car, use their tools. Every young man should know how to change oil and a flat tire. One of the things to do with sons, always allow them to use their hands, using tools to find out which screwdriver works the best, the Phillips, the plain head, whatever they need. And then crescent wrenches or boxed end tools. 1/4 inch, 3/4 inch, 9/16. Which one are they going to need? Always allow a young man to have tools, whether a hammer and other tools to be able to build things with. Find construction people to have your son be involved with how to build something. Prosperity is in your children. Their potential is waiting to come out. Yahweh will bring out their potential when they learn to honor the Sabbath. Teach them to be business owners, not employees. This does not happen when they graduate from high school. This starts when they're 2 and 3 years old. This starts every Friday night when you pray over your children, teaching them that they're going to be successful, owning a business, maybe owning a law firm, maybe owning a car dealership, whatever they need, but they can learn and be also focused in on their future of being a business owner. Teach your children to honor, have diligence, and have endurance. Teach them to keep to the job at hand until you get it done. Don't quit. Remember, teach your children excellence, not perfection, excellence. 10 things to teach your children about life. 1, how to win and lose gracefully with a good attitude. Teach them if they fall, how to keep going and not quit. 2, how to have a right attitude towards the opposite sex. They are to be protected and honored. They are to learn this most valuable lesson from dad. When dating age, how are they to treat their date with honor and respect, or they are someone's son or daughter? And mostly remember, they're God's son and God's daughter. Treat them with honor. Number 3, teach your children man to man about love, sex, every man's battle with hormones. Explain what their bodies will be going through and how to adjust to these emotions. The more that you can help your child to understand the sexual feelings and emotions, the better equipped they will be when confronted with those times. Number 4, teach them how to fight back when bullied with skills and techniques on how to defend themselves. Show them kindness is not weakness, but strength with restraint. Remind them that there's always someone tougher. Enrich the child's life with new sensations of learning new skills with woodworking, mechanical things, hunting, fishing, sports, and just bonding with dad. Teach them the value of following great leaders and how to determine with who those leaders are. How to honor leaders that Yahweh has put over you. Teach them your heart and how you overcame situations through prayer and trusting Him. Explain the balance of cell phones and video games and the detriment of too much playing of them. Remember, one of the greatest things you can teach your child, have a mentor. Teach them the value of learning to be taught by someone else. Number 6, teach them male tricks like how to build a fire from scratch, building simple structures, how to correctly use different tools for the right purpose. Teach them to change a flat tire, use a jack and rotate tires. how and when to change oil in a car, and to keep the fluid levels at the right level. Normally, these would be male things, but today, every girl needs to know how to do all of these things to be able to how to take care of a vehicle that they're driving. 7, instruct them on how to cook, master household chores like vacuuming, washing dishes, doing their own laundry, and compliment their mother on a great job that she does for them. Again, used to be a female that used to know how to do all these chores. But today, men need to know how to do all of these things, because when he becomes married, he needs to help his wife in all of the chores. Number 8, greatest thing you can do, teach him to pray. To read his word, to look up different words in both Greek and Hebrew for the deeper meanings. One of the greatest things you can do for your child, teach him to hear his voice. Teach them how to be able to seek him and to find out what his instruction is. I'll tell you a story. One of the greatest times of my son's life, when he was a little boy, I had to discipline him, and he had gotten a spanking, and he was laying on his bed and he was sobbing, and I went in to console him, and I said, "What's the matter?" And he says, "Oh, I was just messed up, and I'm just a bad person." And I said, "Son, you're not bad. You just made a mistake and had to be corrected." I said, "But you know what? How about we find out and ask Jesus? Let's find out and ask Yeshua what he thinks of you. So can we do that?" And he said, "Okay." He was just a little boy. And so he folded his little hands, and I said, "Yeshua, Matthew just needs to know what you think of him. Would you speak to him right now?" And pretty soon I watched his eyes darting back and forth, and all of a sudden his face just turned bright, a smile on his face, and he looked at me and he said, "Dad, Yeshua said he loves me." One of the greatest times of my life. Number 9, help them find their own viewpoint of the world and their enormous role in it through our Creator, Yeshua, the Messiah from Nazareth. Teach them to be spiritual minded, not legalistic, and with the guidelines in the Torah are like that of a wedding ring. Explain the foundation of the Bible, a wedding between husband and wife. Have family Bible times asking them to read and to comment. Number 10, teach them the value of giving honor to those whom honor is due, how to honor their parents, how to sow word seeds in others, and the value of giving, the value in tithing. Remember to always give double honor to those who teach the word. A viewpoint. Tech billionaire on parenting. Melinda Gates' children don't have smartphones and only use a computer in the kitchen. Her husband Bill spends hours in his office reading books while everyone else is refreshing their homepage. The most sought after private school in Silicon Valley, the Waldorf School of Peninsula, bans electronic devices for under the age of 11 and teaches the children of eBay, Apple, Uber, Google staff to make go-karts, knit, and cook. Mark Zuckerberg wants his daughters to read Dr. Seuss and play outside rather than use messenger kids. Steve Jobs strictly limited his children's use of technology at home. It's astonishing, you think about it. The more money you make out of the tech industry, the more you appear to shield your family from its effects. Wow. You know, we even had the FBI come and speak to us about the horrors of having young children with cell phones. What does it do? It causes them to open a door for addiction at a very early age. Always teach your children to honor you. Always magnify the difference in your child. As similarity brings comfort, but again, different brings increase, prosperity. To esteem lightly someone or to ignore them is to dishonor them. To not answer a phone back, to not answer an email, to not be able to get back with someone when you say you are, is dishonor. Help your child to become self-confident. Teach them about self-talk. The importance of speaking the desired result over their situations. Teach them to honor themselves. Have high esteem of themselves, not to settle for second best. Teach them the difference between a racehorse and a plow horse. Walk away from doing these 7 things from your teen this school year. Number 1, waking them up in the morning. If you're still waking up little Johnny in the mornings, it's time to get an alarm clock to do its job. Let them find out the consequences for not waking up on time. Number 2, making their breakfast and packing their lunch. My morning alarm is sound of the kids clanging cereal bowls and frying eggs. My job is to make sure there's food in the house so they can eat breakfast and pack their own lunch. Filling out their paperwork. Teens are expected to fill out all their own paperwork to the best of their ability. Hold your teens accountable. They will need to fill out job and college applications soon, and they will need to know how to do that without your intervention, but keep a loving eye upon their work. Number 4, delivering their forgotten items. Parents, don't miss the opportunities to provide natural consequences for your teens. Forget something? Feel the pain of that. Kids also get to see that you can make it through the day without a mistake consuming you. We also have a rule that dad and mom are not getting pleading texts from school asking for forgotten items. It still happens, but we have the right to shoot back. That's a bummer. How many times I got to do that? Making their failure to plan is not your emergency. School projects do not get assigned the night before they're due. Therefore, I do not run out and pick up materials at the last minute to get a project finished. But other needed items you may have to wait for. Do not race to the store for your kid who hasn't taken time to plan. Remember, you are training children to be responsible adults, and someday they're going to be training. This is a good topic to talk about in weekly family meetings. Does anyone have projects coming up that they're going to need supplies for so that I can pick them up at my convenience this week? Doing all their laundry. Every once in a while, a child needs a healthy reminder that I do not work for them in doing their laundry. The minute they assume that this is my main role in life is the minute that I gladly hand over the laundry task to them. Number 7, emailing and calling their teachers and coaches. If our child has a problem with a teacher or coach, he's going to have to take it up with the one in charge. There is no way that we as parents are going to question a coach or email a teacher about something that should be between the authority figure and our child. Teach your child that if something is important enough to him, then he needs to learn how to handle the issue himself, or at least you to help him. This is a good place to teach about honor. A high school principal's letter to parents. We're pressuring our children to death. Teen suicide has been on the rise in recent years, and sadly, tween suicide, children ages 10 to 14, has doubled since 2009. For much of this, social media has been blamed, specifically since rates have risen so sharply, doubling in the 10 to 14 age group since the advent of the smartphone. Cyberbullying and the pressure to have a picture-perfect life for social media has led many young people to have mental health problems that lead to teen suicide. But after a high school sophomore from Corona Del Mar High School in California took his life recently, a principal from a neighboring high school, Newport Harbor High, felt the need to speak out to parents of his students in a desperate plea to save lives. The Facebook post on which Dr. Bolton wrote as a letter to parents. Letter from Dr. Bolton. There remains valid, heartfelt concern for this tragic incident, specifically from notes from the deceased students left, notes which made mention of the pressures of school and growing up in Newport Mesa. A lot of ponder and many conversations and changes ahead. But how did we get here? Our teachers and district have simply created and maintained a system that our community or country has demanded from us for the past 20 years, since college admissions mania went into hyperdrive, since vocational training programs were dismantled, and since earning A's in AP classes became the norm. When we grew up, nobody asked us what our GPA was. And it was cool to work on the roof of a house. This competitive culture was significantly impacted our young adults. We endlessly discussed test scores, national merit scholarships, reading scores, AP scholars, comparisons to other school districts. And this is when we started losing our collective souls and our children. I'll interrupt Bolton's comments so you don't miss this line. This is when we start losing our collective souls and our children. We often shield our students from failure. We think that earning a C in class is the end of the world, and we don't allow our students to advocate for themselves. We have also devalued a military career, plumbing, or welding job, and we are a little embarrassed if our children wish to attend vocational training schools instead of a major university. We say hooray to those students who enter the armed forces, who want to work with their hands, who don't want to be weighed down with the burden of being perfect in high school, and who earn a C in a tough class and proud of themselves. All of us as a community have to get this point if we want to avoid our students feeling shamed, isolated, and worthless. We had a waiting list this year for culinary at NHS and a construction technology at Estancia. This is telling statistic. We constantly have students lost in our administrative counseling offices and in classrooms whom we tell college is not for everyone, but look at what you can do. We invite military recruiters to our campuses so they can work with students on valued and significant careers in the armed forces. Please know there is so much behind the scenes we do to diffuse this environment, and we cannot do it alone anymore. A very intuitive parent gave an analogy recently that hit home. Our kids are not teacups. They are meant to be bumped around from time to time. It is during these bumpy times that we can applaud a student going to the military or junior college. Properly support with introspection, not blame. Take an 89.5% as a B+ in stride. Or applaud a student in one of our CTE pathways. My British father would always quip, it is the sum of our experiences that should outweigh the sum of our bank accounts. We must reach the point where if our sons and daughters don't live a perfect young adult experience, it is not the end of the world. It is simply an opportunity to lift the sails and head in another direction. I know I sound like a broken record, and if this offends someone, I'm sorry. But we need to start now. Listen, moms, dads. I consistently tell my children that I would rather have them get character than good grades. I even had to say this in an age-appropriate way recently to my 7-year-old who was so upset after not winning the spelling bee at school that he could not tell his classmate who won, good job. Yes, I get it. He's 7. And this was his first lesson for him. But I did take the opportunity to tell him, I know you're disappointed, but I want you to be a good friend more than I want you to be a good speller. The next day at school, he was able to tell his friend, good job. And you know what? I think he will remember that lesson. So let's commit, parents, to lessening teen suicide by lessening the pressure we put on our kids to perform. Let's stop telling 15-year-olds that their upcoming AP math test is going to have a long impact on their career and ability to provide for their families. Let them fail. You can read about my own epic high school failure here and help them change course when needed. As Dr. Bolton said above, we must reach the point where if our sons and daughters don't live a perfect young adult experience, it is not the end of the world. It is simply an opportunity to lift the sails and head in another direction. And he's right. And we need to start now if we want to prevent teen suicide. And we want to thank you today that if you have enrolled in this class, what you have learned is to take these principles, and now you get the opportunity to apply them and put them into practice. Yeah, you probably can't do them all at once, but I encourage you to take these handouts, read through them again, listen to this program again, because the more that you embrace it, the better your children will be the benefactor of your studies. Again, as Pastor Steve Heimbichner, I'm saying thank you for taking this class.